This next song that we're going to do is a call and response. So it's very easy, very simple, and we just welcome you to join us in the response. Okay? When I rise, let me rise, like a bird, joyfully. And when I fall, let me fall, like a leaf, without regret, gracefully. And when I rise, let me rise, like a bird,
Good evening, and thank you, Moon Over Mountains Threshold Choir, for helping us to arrive and to set the space on what really is one of my very favorite days of the year. I look forward to entering this season by acknowledging the way that we've come together in community over the past years for many of us. And the Threshold Choir does such a beautiful and gentle way of helping us to bridge thresholds. And so the introduction and our landing here together, those of us in person in the room and those of us who are online remotely, welcome as we land at the 6th annual Light from Our Hearts event. It feels special to be this young in community and having something, a tradition that we've established in coming together to offer whether it's a spark in our heart or a bonfire in our heart, whatever light we have, that we're bringing it here together, we're sharing it with each other, and in a way that I just honor in each of you for your commitment, for showing up here, your commitment to joining us online. And so my name is Seth Vidal. I'm with the Natural Funeral, and I'm one of the early band members at the Natural Funeral, and I want to honor the Natural Funeral group that welcomed me into community and helped to established a style of connecting and service right here in Boulder County that, and so I want to acknowledge Karen Van Buren, founder and creator at the Natural Funeral, who is now very involved at the Natural Transitions Institute and is now evolving work in the world through her nonprofit there, and is still continuing to teach around end-of-life celebrancy and ritual and sacred ceremony, and has joined a part of an even larger movement to really bring a beautiful style of teaching to honoring life's thresholds. And there will be a little bit more about that later tonight when I introduce another one of our presenters. And I want to honor Dan Ziskin, who's here with us tonight and is still the chief scientist at the Natural Funeral, for his all of the inspiration that he continues to give me on a daily basis, even though he conquers environmental challenges, representing governmental research and representing a small company that has established a new way of making an environmental impact in the world. I still watch him count his own footsteps and the impact of every decision that he makes, and he continues to inspire not just our business to do the next right thing, but me personally. And I'd like to share with you that my role at the Natural Funeral too in these last 6 years has evolved, and that we're now responding to inquiries that we might not have expected even a year or two ago, which are coming to us from other funeral service providers around the country and around the world who are inspired by the work we're doing here in Boulder County, especially around some of the ecological and forward-thinking ways that we're serving community. And so I've been getting to evolve to answer some of those questions. And that's meant a changing of our team, and you're gonna get to meet some of the folks who are the day in and day out hearts and hands servants at the Natural Funeral as we progress through the evening. And so I wanted to also thank the folks at the Natural Funeral who helped to put this together, and our partners at Trailwinds Hospice, who for years have been serving in such an aligned way, and their community and our community are so similar in the way that we open our hearts and the way that we connect with each other. So Trailwinds has been a very natural fit for us in Boulder County when we think of how do we show up with an open heart to community. And I'm going to introduce Jane, who's going to come up and welcome you on behalf of Trailwinds. But right before I do that, and Jane, this is your prompt that's coming in just a moment. I want to share a story about the alignment that I feel, that our organization feels, how special it is to get to work with an organization like Trailwinds. There's a story that it's been a little bit of time has passed since this happened. It was in January of 2022. And I got a call. It was late in the day, maybe about 5 o'clock in the day as I remember. And the call was from Kara, who was serving a Trailwinds client. And in the sort of no holds barred, open heart, what is this very moment calling for style of service that they are known to provide our community, Kara reached out with an interesting question. that there was a loved one who was at a hospital whose husband was at home only about a mile away. But the husband was too ill to travel to the hospital where his wife was. And the wife was too ill to travel home to where her husband was. And it was almost certain that she would likely die that evening. And the husband had conveyed his wish that he would move heaven and earth to try and be there, but couldn't, and requested a way to be with her as she died. And so the way that the event unfolded, the way the evening unfolded, was that the ambulance service even wasn't an option in this case. And so Kara said, let's get creative and let's honor the wishes of this family. And so we used one of our vehicles, and we sort of broke her out of the hospital to bring her home. And the care and the joy on the husband's face as we entered his home that January in 2022, the feelings were overwhelming in the room. And the following day, the natural funeral received a call that she had died, and that she had died with her head being held by her husband, and that when we showed up, there was, of course, overwhelming grief, but also overwhelming gratitude in the room. And I share that with you as a special way that I want to introduce Trailwinds Hospice, because that's the way we all strive to show up with every family. And that's just one instance of their heart being open in the world to that level of service. So if I may, I'd like to bring Jane up, who will welcome you on behalf of Trailwinds. Thank you.
Oh, this part's hard because I can't see anything. Welcome to this moment, really. I love this night. I agree with Seth. It's just, it's become a sacred night to me, and I'm so grateful for all of you who have come tonight to be together in community and to share together what we all have experienced, life and love and loss and so much more. I absolutely want to thank again the Natural Funeral, the Nomad Theater for this space here, and a special thanks to Grant Marylander, who is a colleague of mine at Trailwinds Hospice, for all the amazing bereavement work and more that he does, and for tonight, for all the work that he did to make this possible tonight too. Tonight, I'm reminded of the winter solstice, which is occurring 6 days from now, and which we all know is the darkest day of the year. Solstice, Latin for sol stati, I believe, literally translates to sun stood still. And I think that we feel at times when during our loss, our anticipatory losses and our loss, that our hearts stand still. And I know that during the solstice, there are about 6 days in the northern hemisphere when the sun kind of ceases its southern crawl on the horizon and appears to kind of rise and set in the same place. I think long, long ago, when ancient people watched this happen with a sort of held breath, that they watched this quiet drama, wondering, will the sun move again? Will the light grow anew on the great wheel of life, or will life continue itself? And then I'm reminded of grief, and I know I've felt like that, and I'm sure that many of you have. And when we make a crossing from dark to light, so just a thought. I invite you to think about this as you receive light from our hearts tonight, and we receive light from yours as well. Thank you all for being here.
As we think about the light from our hearts, I'm going to next invite Susan. Susan Nimchek is the executive director of Willow Farm and the chaplain at the Natural Funeral. And Susan is going to light the candle this evening that will be the source light that later on we will use as we bring the collective light from each of our hearts together in a later ceremony. But this thank you, Susan. Susan will be back in a little bit later in our program. But the very next thing that we're going to bring up Austin Timpson. Austin is a part of our growing team. He's just recently relocated within the last 4 months to Colorado from Utah to manage our funeral homes and our local companies. Austin is going to read a poem, and the poem is called "The Lamps Are Different, but the Light is the Same," and it's a Rumi poem.
So many garish lamps in the dying brain's lamp show. Forget about them. Concentrate on the essence. Concentrate on the light. In lucid bliss, calmly smoking off its own holy fire, the light streams toward you from all things, all people, all possible permutations of good, evil, thought, passion. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things. One turning and burning diamond, one. Ground yourself, strip yourself down to blind, loving silence. Stay there until you see you are gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. So grateful to be here with you all this evening. Thank you.
So, I mentioned that founder at the Natural Funeral, Karen Van Buren, is doing another adventure in the evolution of the Natural Transitions Institute, and Ben Martin has joined her on that journey. And Ben is also a dear celebrant at the Natural Funeral, beloved friend of mine, an amazing storyteller, and just one of my all-around favorite and most joyful people. Ben is going to bring to us some ceremony this evening. And I'm going to let Ben introduce that and take it from here. And I know you've got tech support coming.
Yeah. Well, I hate to bring my shadow self here and start with a little beard envy. I don't know if you noticed Austin, and then I don't know if you noticed Seth. And he actually had tinsel in his beard, which I would love to have enough beard to be able to do that. I'm waiting for him to push a little button and it light up with some Christmas tree lights. So anyway, I'm really struggling with this envy. I'm going to start by lighting. Am I going to start? Yes, I am. I'm going to light my, I have a earth altar. We're going to talk about it in a minute. And I'm going to build it electronically. So we're going to get that going. Don't say we're not. I'm going to light a light here at the top. I have 5 lights. 4 of them are reflecting the Ho'oponopono prayer of please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. That prayer is a kind of a distillate of a prayer that is meant to help release someone who has recently passed. So, great. And I've titled this The Sustenance of Remembrance and Beauty. As we're here, we need some sustenance. We're sharing a connection to a very personal and for many recent loss. And our grief, though unlike anyone else's grief, is something we all share. Once we arrive on this blue marble of a planet, start counting our days around a star that we call a sun, and we start to collect up our allotment of birthdays, we are saddled with the reality of a flip side to life. It's called death, often of someone we love dearly, and it's called loss. How do we square with this unwanted intrusion in our life? Where is our solace? Where's the means to sustain this unwanted companion of grief and pain? Tonight is about 2 sources of sustenance and healing. Remembrance, that's why we're here, and beauty. And I want to share some beauty with you. The denouement, or climax of this evening, is always a reverential moment of collective remembrance as we read off the names of our loved ones who we have come here tonight to remember, and we process as congregants of grief and of love, and light a candle in honor of the light they were and continue to be in our lives. And we place our candle in a sandbox to join in a chorus of light, chorus of remembrance. The choral light of our loved one's memory holds a space for the light that went out in our lives when they passed, and the light that continues on with us now, sustenance. On either side of tonight's denouement is beauty. Beautiful plaintive music, lyrical voices, thank you, Threshold Choir, intoning notes and words of healing, inspirational poetry, thank you, Austin, and readings resonant with compassion, as well as the rich communion of a moment of silence. We rely on the beauty of the arts to underwrite our journey here on earth, to help give meaning to the milestones in our lives, and a heightened way to transform an often unbearable grief into something beautiful, cathartic, sustenance. Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world. And despite the pain, the disease, the hole in our life, and the abyss that we feel, still there is beauty. We are here tonight to share our grief, to honor our loved ones by remembering them, and we're here to recognize that we've been given a unique sustenance for our spirits, and that's a fierce and incredible beauty. Dostoevsky said in his novel, Demons, that man can live without science. He can live without bread. Dan may not agree with living without silence, but the rest of you might get that. But without beauty, he could no longer live, because there would no longer be anything to do to the world. The whole secret is here. The whole history is here. But there's a shadow to beauty. Beauty's shadow is its ephemeral nature, its fleetingness. The shadow to a morning sunrise is the realization that the streaks of color, the pink radiance inhabiting a cloud, the wild muscular movement of a wind-driven nimbus of a cloud, is that it's only for a moment. And then it dynamically shifts. The ball of light called the sun and its aura increases with each movement and moment and shifts the mood of the sky's canvas. And then we're full onto the day, the beauty gone. Sometimes it lasts only 10 minutes, sustenance, all too brief. There is a Tibetan Buddhist tradition involving exquisite mandalas made from colored sand. I don't know if you're aware of this, but once complete, the monks ritualistically dismantle in a specific order the elements that make up their mandala. Sand mandalas traditionally take several weeks, not just hours, to build due to the large amount of work involved in laying down the sand and piping it in an intricate design. And then in a nod to the ephemeral nature of beauty of life, the mandala is ceremoniously dismantled. It's something you would want to preserve forever, but the message is that it's ephemeral. Life is ephemeral and beauty is ephemeral. The sand is collected in a jar, wrapped up in silk, transported to a river, and where it's dispersed, and I quote, disperses the healing energies of the mandala to sentient beings in water and throughout the world. And so it would seem that the hidden beauty of painstaking effort to create beauty actually offers a healing energy to all sentient beings, sustenance. Well, in my practice as a life cycle celebrant, I have found nature altars to be a potent ritual element in the number of my life's celebration ceremonies. These variations inspired by creations and insights offered by Laura Lesher and her earth altars by David Skildkret and his morning altars in the tradition of Druid nature mandalas. Nature altars offer a tangible way for family and friends to participate in a ritual that honors the ephemeral beauty of the earth and the ephemeral beauty of a life. Nature altars are particularly relevant when honoring a person who was smitten with the beauty of nature, who loved walks and hikes and mountain vistas and ocean views, who had a passion for the care and tending of Mother Earth. Tonight I brought together a nature altar here, but I'm going to build it digitally, so you can walk through what went into creating this altar. First, you can see that I just start with a cloth and then add to that a 7-stone cairn, our milestone marker to mark this moment of remembrance, establish its importance along our collective grief journey. And then I harvested some pine cones and that are very, I put a candle on top of my milestone to shine out a light that's there. And then added pine cones in the form of a Vitruvian man that's from Da Vinci, that the pine cone being a beautiful symbol of legacy and carrying a sacred geometry, Fibonacci numbers, where it goes to the 2 numbers before to find out where you go next, forms a spiral up a pine cone. And it's a traditional symbol of human enlightenment, legacy, and that which is eternal. Then I add the evergreen boughs as a sign of that which is eternal, which is love, and surround it with that. I add the some stones that are dear to me that I harvested in the Lake Michigan with my grandchildren that were there vacation, and making this altar very personal. Then I add some rose petals that are from a recent life celebration that I was able to officiate. And it's a symbol of love, and bring that love to this altar that we're building. Then I bring to this the ankh, which is a symbol of life, and put that on my altar as a nod to an Egyptian trip I took with my wife, and came back with the ankh And then something that's a symbol of legacy to me is a book I've written called Love Poems for from the Between. It has my poems and my songs in it. And it's what I leave behind as I move on to wherever the on is after this. Then I add these four lights for the Ho'opono prayer of I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, which I love because I think it covers the gamut of human relationships, finding grace with each other through forgiveness, finding release through gratitude, finding connection through the continuing power of love. So to consecrate this altar, I bring a Tibetan bowl that's tuned to an A, and I always like to toll it in a moment of silence to honor the memory or the love that goes with the altar. And I'm gonna, it's tuned to an A that's a tolling pitch for those who for whom the bell tolls. So in honor of the body of earth that contains us, in honor of the tears that connect us, in honor of the transformative power inherent in nature to transform and recreate life from death, we bless this, the light from our heart's nature altar. And then I'll end this little ceremony of building the earth altar with this poem. It's called May We Remember Them. On this day of remembrance, translate our love and our gratitude that it might reach those we can no longer touch. May this remembrance be received by them as nourishment for their spirit. We are forever grateful for this gift of life, a rhapsody of color, and its sustenance of ephemeral beauty. We are forever grateful for the undying beauty of those whose memories now take hold in our hearts. We remember them from this waypoint. We wonder about those we have loved, about their unique voice trailing through the hallowed chambers of our hearts as we rehear and rehearse and remember their voice, so unmistakable. We remember them, how alive they feel in this resounding. Still they have a hold on our hearts. Still they have a place in our minds. Still they rise up and speak to us still. We remember them. A moment of, there it is, sorry. A moment, a compendium of all moments, synchronized by the resounding of the voices of those we have known, the voices of those we have loved, the voices that have encircled and changed us. We remember them. From this waypoint, we remember them reviving what is most their essence, resounding what is most their core. From this waypoint, as we remember them, may they continue to re-know, to rehear our unmistakable voice, trailing with love and gratitude as we transport them into our lives now. May our love and gratitude enhearten their journey onward, now and forever, as we remember them. Thought I'd close by sharing with you a few examples of earth altars created for recent clients of mine. This was a body composting client who they took the soil, mixed it with some seeds, and built a nature altar out in their garden. This was an altar that was in nod of the 5 rays of the pine cone, and this is a altar of a woman who loved gardening and has some the vegetables, and she was a big lily lover, and so there's some lilies in there, and something very special, unique to her. This was for a nature lover who has things that were collected on his hikes, bones and rocks and fossils. Center point was the candle that they lit every night before they had dinner, and it's surrounded with a circle of seeds, let's try it that way, that included the sunflower seeds. And here's one of my favorites. This is a sock altar. And this woman was very much about being keeping you warm, and you always had to wear your mittens and put your hat on. And so everybody brought a brand new pair of mittens and a hat. We built it on the altar, we blessed it, and then all those hats and gloves went to the local women's shelter. And let's see. So that's it. We've explored a little of the rich sustenance of remembrance. I hope you'll consider building one of your own, perhaps on a table in a sacred corner of your home, or in your backyard, or in a spot along a creek, or in a special place of yours. You might single out a particular anniversary date, birth date, death date, favorite holiday, special day in memory, and you might go on a little meditative scavenger hunt of your own around your house, objects you associate with your loved one, and around your yard, objects that capture your eye, and perhaps harvesting from a special pilgrimage you take. Perhaps you include their ashes if you kept some, their soil if you have some, or some object emblematic of their essence, and build an earth altar in their memory, an altar of remembrance, altar of beauty. Sustenance, to be sure, and perhaps it will offer you some healing energy for you and healing energy for all sentient beings. Perhaps you write a poem to your loved one and include that as part of your ceremony. And I thought I would end with a poem I wrote for my dad, who I think had a beautiful death. He was conscious until the last few hours, surrounded by those who loved him, who joked with his grandchildren, and still was able to carry humor and joy into the next part of his journey. And it's this day we remember you. May we be so blessed that, like you, when we go in love. To this moment we add our wonder, to the mystery of the wake in your death, mystery of what you chose to believe, a wake of what you wanted to become, a wake of what you strove to unite. To this moment we add our wonder, to the mystery of the awakening in your death, awakening to your legacy of love, awakening to the love that continues with you, awakening to the love that continues through us. To this moment we add our wonder, to the wake of grief that inhabits us, to the wake of fond memories that occupy us, to the wake of wonder of where we go from here. May we be so blessed that, like you, when we go in love. May we be so blessed that when we remember you, we remember the awakening moments and live this day in love. I have pine cones on this table. I would love for you to take one and add it to your altar. I have extras, so it would be really a wonderful, energetic exchange if you'll grab one and take it with you and add it to a place that's sacred for you. But I want you to have that, and take it as a symbol of sustenance, of beauty and remembrance, and a reminder of the legacy of your loved one. Thank you. Appreciate it. There we go. We're there.
Thank you, Ben, for the way that you pray in stories and the way that your poems make us feel. And thank you. So at this is the point in the night where we're going to invite you to participate in the candle lighting ceremony. I'm going to invite Kathleen Starr, who's going to come up and bless us with some cello music, an arrangement that she's put together. And I'm going to invite you to come up on this side of the stage. There are some stairs up here. And then as Ben shared with you, if you would like to take a pine cone from his heart and bring that somewhere special in your life, you're invited to do that here. And then on the table here, right in front of the candle that Susan lit earlier, is the candle signifying the collective light from our hearts, where you can light a candle and then place that into one of these sand boxes. So as Kathleen begins to play, I would invite you, and maybe we'll start here at the front, and then it will be easier if folks come up on this side so that we're kind of flowing safely that way. So please be safe and take your time, and in your heart put together your prayerful intention as you join us this evening. Kathleen, and thank you everyone for bringing your light tonight. I'm going to ask that the house lighting maybe come down a bit, and the very next thing that's going to happen is a reading of some names that were shared with us in order to bring the memory of those beloveds even closer than they are right now. So I'm going to ask Mike Reagan and Kara Leischer and Jane Peterson to join me here.
Denise Bender, Tyler Cottier, Bussy Cottier, Dolores Hagedorn, Sebastiano Castellano, Joan Oviette, Bill Oviette, Matthew LaRock, Lisa Hendricks, Bill Harris, Lisa Harris,
Yair Irez, thank you. Lola Udell, William Starr, Constance Starr, Tim Starr, Dean Enix, hope I pronounced that, Michelle Loisy, Justin Kane, George Smith, Randall Hoke, Ruth Hartley, Bill Ballou, Jean Kirkpatrick, Steve Peterson, Jed Peterson, Judith Orloff, Lucy, Lila and John Showman, Jeff Lesher, Jerry Lesher, Trina Ketchum, Sandra Clark, Tina Kahan, Rich O'Connor, PJ Milan, Nikki Hale, Talina Malarkey, Buttercup Vidal, Roxy Vidal, Jojo Naus.
Graham Aber, Squeaky De Courtney, Adam Anthony, Randy Vermillion, Brian Davis, Margie and Bill Miller, Brian Mormon, Doug Berger, David Fugate, Michael Lindsley. Isaac Litvak, Andy Tustison, Richard Stewart, Winnegene White, Elaine Larson, Robert Tucker, Gilbert Gilly Montoya Sr., Mary Sedegast, Ramon Olachia, Sam Olachia, Carol Ann Olachia, Ashton Ford, Robert Tucker, David Eifler, Benjamin Getchell, Nick Hale, Gary Norman, Lola Shivers Yadrone, Jill Timpson, and Dan Sturgis.
We honor those whose names were not mentioned, but who are forward in your hearts right now. Moon over mountains. I'll ask Susan Nimchek to come back up.
So we're going to close our time together today with a little parable. This parable could be in any faith tradition, I believe. This happens to be a Buddhist parable, but it could be a parable told by a rabbi or Christian for sure. So this is the story of Keisha and the mustard seed. Keisha was a very, very poor woman, And Keisha means skinny. She was a very poor woman in the time of Buddha. Her young son died suddenly. And she couldn't fathom or hold that her son had died. And she carried him desperately in the street and asked everyone she met if they had medicine that would wake him from his sleep. Because she knew that the right medicine would revive him. Her sorrow was so deep and her anguish so wide, she was just absolutely unable to process the loss. She wouldn't give up. She continued past her own neighborhood, searching for the right medicine. Some tried to help her, some tried to console her, some thought she was crazy. So she was determined to cure her son, and she asked door to door, and eventually she came to the house of one of the elders. The elder was very wise and said, "This child is clearly beyond the help of medicine, but the mother is in great need of help. No medical doctor can help the child, but there is a great doctor nearby who will know how to help the woman." So the elder said to Kisa, "Good woman, go see the enlightened one and ask him if he has any medicine for you." When she reached the place where the Buddha was staying, she went straight to the Buddha and fell down at his feet, crying out to him, "Buddha, I beg you, please give me the medicine I need to wake my child from his sleep." Straight away, the Buddha understood that Kisa's situation and state of mind was deep and profound. And he said, "Good woman, I do have some medicine for you. But in order for this medicine to work, you need to obtain a small quantity of mustard seed from outside the city." "Oh yes, Buddha," she burst out as the Buddha was still speaking. "I can certainly do that." And she got up in a hurry. The mustard seed was the cheapest spice available, and she knew that virtually every house in this city would have some. And as the Buddha was still speaking, and he wasn't quite finished, she was walking away, and he said, "Good woman, you need to obtain the mustard seed from a house in the city where no one has died and no one has suffered loss of a loved one." Kisa couldn't see what a difference that would make, and she accepted the Buddha's instruction and hurried away to get the mustard seed that would cure her child. She confidently knocked at the first door, and she came to ask whether she could have a small quantity of mustard seed. The people at home could see the state of Kisa, what she was in, and still clutching her son's body, and willingly gave her mustard seeds so that she wanted. And she turned away in triumph and returned to the Buddha, and suddenly remembered that the second part of the instruction was turning back to the householder and asking, "By the way, has anyone in this house ever lost anyone? Has anyone died here?" "Yes, of course," came the reply. "Our grandfather died a few weeks ago." And Kisa was disappointed and gave the mustard seed back, thinking that she had just gotten unlucky at the first house. So she went to the next one. Again, the occupants had some crushed seed, but again, someone had died in the house. And so she went to the next one, and the next one, and the same thing happened. And again, the house after that, her all-consuming grief, and in her all-consuming grief, she was not about to give up. She continued from house to house asking the same questions. At one house, a father died, another, a wife died, and another, a daughter, and the third, a husband. After a while, Kisa had stopped again asking for the mustard seed, as everyone had that, and just knocked at the door and asked if anyone had died there or had lost a loved one. It must have been a shock to the householders to have someone knock at their door and ask such a thing, but they could see that Kisa was so disturbed and in her anguish and grief that they told her who had died there, and she quickly left and went to the next house. As the day went on, she had the realization that she was not going to find a house untouched by death. And it gradually seeped into Kisa's mind, but she kept asking. Going door to door she went, but the outcome was always the same. She desperately, desperately wanted it to not be true, but her experience kept showing her that this was the reality of the situation. And she went on. She also couldn't help noticing just how many houses had lost a child, either at birth or a baby or at the age when the child grew up. As the daylight faded, Kisa's mind gradually began to realize that she wasn't alone or unusual for losing a child. She realized that the universe was not picking on her or punishing her or singling her out in any way. She realized that the death of her child didn't mean the universe had malfunctioned or was broken. This was just what happened. Sometimes loved ones die. Her tour of the city had shown her that it happened a lot, and she was one among many grieving parents, and that she must do as they had done and take her child to the cemetery and bury him. Still feeling the pain of loss, but her heart no longer was disturbed by anger and denial. Kisa accepted the death of her son and carried him to his final journey. After burying her son, Kisa walked back calmly to the streets where the Buddha was staying. She smiled kindly, from whom she had been demanding answers earlier that day, and her demeanor was so different, many of them scarcely recognized her. Finding the Buddha again, Kisa went up to him and respectfully bowed and said, "Thank you for the teaching." And the Buddha asked whether or not she managed to get the mustard seed, and she replied, No, I have not. A mustard seed is easy to obtain, but a house untouched by death cannot be found. "Good woman," said the Buddha, "when I said I had some medicine for you, you may have thought I was promising to cure your son. But indeed the medicine was not for you. Not for your son, it was for you. I can see the medicine has done its work, and that you now see clearly that birth and death cannot be avoided, and are part of the reality of existence for each and every person and all beings. People are heavily burdened by their cares. They are driven by concerns about children, wealth, possessions, and reputation. However much that we are attached to in life is of no consequence, because death comes to us all, sweeping everything away like a great flood that sweeps into a village. A person that has not understood the nature of grief and loss may live 100 years, but far more valuable is just a single day of life for a person who is understanding the relationship of love, great compassion, and loss. This is a powerful, powerful message. And so we gather here. We gather here tonight. We come alongside each other, and we share our loss, our grief, and the preciousness of this life. We turn toward hard things as a part of our collective human experience of love and grief. None of us are separate. None of us are exempt or alone. And we're all just really completely rearranged in our own way by our lives and our loss and our love. Blessings.
Ask Jane Peterson is going to share a poem.
The First Time Percy Came Back by Mary Oliver. The first time Percy came back, he was not sailing on a cloud. He was loping along the sand as though he had come a great way. "Percy," I cried out and reached to him, those white curls. But he was unreachable, as music is present, yet you can't touch it. "Yes, it's all different," he said. "You're going to be very surprised." But I wasn't thinking of that. I only wanted to hold him. "Listen," he said, "I miss that too. And now you'll be telling stories of my coming back, and they won't be false, and they won't be true. They'll be real." And then, as he used to, he said, "Let's go." And we walked down the beach together.
Thanks for being with us on one of my favorite and most special nights of the year. Thanks for sharing the light that's in each of your hearts. Thanks for hearing the song that we offer from our hearts. And may you go forth in community with this shine imprinted on you, and that you share it with others. We're going to have some space to join each other in the lobby. There are some warm drinks and refreshments there. Lots of hugs available. And now I'm going to invite Moon Over Mountains to share with us as we depart and meet each other in the lobby. Thank you.